Welcome to USIP ISIP, a weekly podcast with Northern Lights Winery founder Doug Bell, exploring the experiences from leaders in business, social media, and family. Now here's this week's exceptional guest.
Welcome to USIP ISIP. I'm Doug Bell, host of the podcast. I'm here with Mackenzie Kerr, social media entrepreneur and the owner of Mackenzie Kerr Media Consulting. So we are going to get into some really interesting topics today about politics, life, and entrepreneurship. And you are all three of those. You epitomize a very interesting dynamic and dichotomy of things that are going to interweave together to create a story, which is your life. So I'm very excited about this. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. We're drinking Seduction Strawberry Rhubarb Wine. Of course, this is great for summertime, nice and refreshing. And this conversation is also going to be refreshing because some of our past entrepreneurs that we've had on have had very different experiences than you. And so you are still young and you're early on in your career, but you've done so much and you've accomplished a very, very lot. So why don't you take us back to the beginning and tell us how this all started?
Sure. So I moved to Prince George when I was 9 years old from the Yukon. I grew up in the Yukon, which was an awesome childhood to have. And I moved here. I grew up on a farm my entire life and was involved in 4-H. So I was always volunteering, going to the fall fairs, raising animals. And I learned about business from a very young age because I got to raise swine and sell them at the auction, go to door-to-door knocking for businesses and ask if they'd like to come to the auction and bid on my animal. So I got a little bit of that entrepreneurship and public speaking experience very young, and learning about how to track my finances and track everything for the life of the animal, and do public speaking competitions and that kind of stuff. So I love public speaking, which is rare. Most people hate it, but I really enjoy it, and I really like sharing stories and sharing other people's perspectives on larger stages. So if I can bring people's ideas to a larger stage, that's kind of what I love doing. And I feel like when there's collaboration and lots of ideas coming to one table, that's when things can be the best they can be, with the biggest and brightest ideas. So that's kind of how I started, was a lot of 4-H. And I aged out a couple of years ago and I continued volunteering. My partner calls me a professional pack mom because I'm on so many boards and organizations and do so much volunteering. So I really enjoy it, and I love Prince George and being here. So I want to kind of have my hands in as many pots as possible, trying to make a difference and create change in our community and bring more people to Prince George. It can be awesome here.
Yeah, absolutely. 4-H is such a great organization because it really brings leadership qualities and skills to individuals at a young age. What was it about 4-H that attracted you? Was it the animals or was it the people?
My mom was a 4-H leader before I was even born, so I was kind of born into it. I didn't really have a ton of options in front of me when I lived in Dawson City. There wasn't anything else, right? And so my mom started 4-H in Dawson City, and then I joined it when I was very young. And so then when I moved to Prince George and found out there was a 4-H club, I joined it immediately because that's what I had been doing already, and riding horses my whole life was kind of what I had been doing. I joined it just because of the sense of community. I knew about the leadership skills that I could gain, the opportunities to travel. I went to multiple provincial and national conferences for 4-H, and that was amazing. I wouldn't have had that opportunity without it. So now I have friends all across the province and country and world because I went to a world conference for 4-H. It was just amazing, the skills that it brought to me and the leadership opportunities that it gave me. So
now, what about business? Because part of 4-H is really learning about economics. Now, whether you're an animal lover or an animal eater, and I totally understand the perspectives of both, there is an economics behind farming, and it is the largest and oldest industry on the planet. Yeah. What did you learn in terms of business?
I learned a ton when it comes to business in 4-H. I had to track how much food and how expensive it was to feed my animals. Even when I wasn't doing market animals and I was just doing my horse project, you still have to track how much food you're feeding, how expensive it is, how much your tack costs, how much fencing costs, and all of those things wrapped up, how much it costs to go to horse shows, everything that's involved. So learning how to track that at a very young age is really, really beneficial. So you kind of see the whole picture. and you're involved with other farmers, right? It's not just a farming program, but there's a lot of farmers involved in it most of the time. And so you get to talk to farmers who own huge beef farms or cattle farms. And then you kind of get that perspective of what it's like to have a large scale business when you just have one pig that you're selling and it's super tiny and you make tons of money on it because your expenses are pretty low on one animal. Then you get to, surround yourself with people who do it professionally for their entire lives and build those connections, that community. And then that kind of led me to having those connections as I grew up and grew out of 4-H. And now I have this big network of people that, watched me grow up in the program and helped me with my leadership skills and helped push me to be who I am today.
Yeah, the biggest mistake I see so many entrepreneurs make when they start getting into business is that they don't understand that you need to make more money than you spend.
Yeah.
And ultimately, this is something that I think we could be educating younger people at a much higher rate, whether it is for your personal expenses and finances or if it's for your business expenses. I think that understanding at the end of the day, you need to put more dollars into the bank than you take out. Otherwise, you're not going to last very long. Farming is so important to our lives. I mean, no farms, no food, and it is not really well communicated. So you went from a farming background to a communications background. Mm-hmm. Was there anything you identified in the farming and 4-H industry that you wanted to bring forward and share to the world?
I was super passionate about local agriculture and local farmers, and that's kind of one of the avenues that led me into politics to begin with, and communications, because I love that public engagement and communicating, really difficult, complex things in easy to understand ways with the public. And that's kind of what I specialize in now with my business. And so being in the, 4-H community and realizing how many people have, stereotypes or they misunderstand the agriculture industry and how important it is to eat local, and even just knowing that there's a farmer's market that happens every Saturday year round in Prince George. A lot of people don't even know that, right? So communications is everything, and that's kind of why I've entered into that business now. But that was one of the things that kind of propelled me into politics, because I really like that public engagement and teaching more people about all of the amazing, local food that they could be getting in Prince George and the surrounding area. That we need more resources in this area for local farmers and what it could look like if we did have it. So, yeah.
So let's get into that a little bit further. I know politics is very interesting in your world, and you've run for politics in the past. How did you find your love for that start to grow, and how did that develop into actually running for politics?
So I studied forestry at UMBC and at CNC. And when I was in the forestry program, I was seeing a ton of awesome ideas of what we should be doing in the forest sector in class. And then we would go out into the bush and we wouldn't really be seeing that happening. And so we were talking about how we could change that. And one of the biggest ways you can change that is through policy. And so I thought, I was very young, and I was like, I'm going to be the Minister of Forests. And I did a 4-H interview when I was super young. And as I was doing my degree, I was like 18, 19 years old, and the news interviewed me in the Citizen, and they were like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was like, I'm going to be the Minister of Agriculture, Ministry of Forests. And a Green Party member in Prince George saw that I had said that, and they reached out and they were like, oh, this person's interested in politics. The chance that there's a young person interested is very slim. So they reached out to me and brought me into kind of the Green Party circle in the local area, and I got to meet everyone, and they were all so kind and caring and amazing. And I learned more about the platform and more about the party and got involved. Started a club at UMBC, and it took off. We had like 50 people in the club instantly. It was amazing. We had local politicians come in and speak to us and just break down those barriers of access, because a lot of the time it's hard to reach politicians, right? And I kind of wanted to help fix that and bring them in a really casual setting. It wasn't, professional. It wasn't scary. It was just super accessible. You could ask them anything. And we had a lot of success. And then the Green Party saw that this was happening, and they said, hey, we need a candidate in the election. Have you thought about running? And I said, no, I don't have any experience with that. And I was asked 6 times before I said yes. Took a lot of coaxing. And it's a tough decision, right? It takes a lot out of you, and it takes a lot of work. So I finally said yes. I had a ton of support, and then it kind of led me to where I am now.
So I have a bit of experience in this as well, because my father was a politician and he actually was the Minister of Forestry for a period of time. Probably similar timing to when you were actually going through this. And one of the things that I learned about politics is that no one is going to love what you do. And so you have to really understand that you're doing it for the right reasons. No matter what side of the political spectrum you're on, you have to have conviction in what you believe. And also you have to understand that there are going to be people that don't agree with you. And how do you bring people together so that they can see a common vision in whatever it is you're doing? During this time, there was actually quite a bit of growth in the Green Party in BC and across Canada. And that, to some degree, has continued. So what did you see in the Green Party that really resonated with yourself and your values?
Sure. So I really liked that they had no whipped votes, because that was different than in the other party. And so I was able to really represent my riding. I wasn't, I didn't have to agree with the party leader or other MPs. I could vote against them and I wouldn't be kicked out of the party. And so I really, really like that part of the Green Party, and it's still part of their policy and how they create policies from the ground up. So all the membership votes together at a conference on policies that they want to put in the platform. And I really like that as well. So it's kind of a bottom-up approach instead of top-down. So that really attracted me to them. And they had great ideas on the environment. Obviously, that's one of the biggest issues that we're facing right now in climate change, and really progressive ideas, out-of-the-box thinking. And I think that's what we need to solve our issues of climate change that we're facing right now. So that's kind of what drew me to it. And they were really open to taking new policy ideas from people that were on the ground. So, forestry ideas from foresters, agriculture from farmers on the ground. That kind of idea is what really brought me to them. So I really like that. And they were super supportive and committed to helping me with my run, and even sent people from the head office up to Prince George to help me near the end of the election in 2019 for my first run. So it was amazing that they showed so much support. We had a ton of people out, and we in 2019 we got 4,998 votes. We were 2 votes shy of 5,000 votes, so it was pretty awesome. We were just shy of 10% of the vote. And then the second time around, we surpassed 10%, which was amazing, because then you get 50% of your expenses back if you pass 10%. So then we're not starting from zero the next time, because we get some of that money back. And so really just sharing and communicating with people why it's really important to vote for people, even if you don't think they're going to win in the election. It can just help them for the next time. Sharing my story and why I think that I would be a good MP or a good MLA and bring out-of-the-box thinking. Lots of people were supportive, and lots of people also slammed the door in my face when they saw my Green Party t-shirt, walk up to their door and knock on their door. So I got used to being told no, and having conversations with people that disagreed with me. And that's how we have productive conversations, because if we're just stuck in our echo chamber, we're not really gonna progress as a community. So I enjoy those conversations when people are polite and really want to learn, and I listen to them and hear them out, and goes back and forth. So taking the time to hear from people with opposing opinions it happens a ton on social media now, and I engage in a lot of those conversations. And that's kind of what I made my TikTok account about, was teaching people about politics, talking about politics. And I have a great success now on TikTok talking about it, and it's really great because lots of people follow me, and they often comment and say, I don't support the Green Party, but I really like you, and I like listening to what you have to say. And that's the goal, right? I mean, that's a win for me, even if I'm not winning the election.
Yeah, absolutely. It gets even more notoriety. Most people don't understand what goes on behind a political campaign. Can you give us a sneak peek of the process? Because it is fairly significant, regardless of which party you're on.
Yeah, regardless of size of campaign, you're all putting in the same amount of work, because you have the same amount of debates to go to, you have the same amount of doors that you want to knock. It just depends on how big your team is, how many doors you can knock by the end of the election. So ground game, door knocking, phone calling, still super important, even though everyone thinks, I'll do a ton of social media ads. There's a lot of strict rules around social media ads in political parties, so you have to be very careful. And it kind of comes down to who has the most money for marketing, right? And so that's why it's so important that you can fundraise during elections, and asking for money when you're a political candidate is it feels icky. Like, it doesn't feel good. So if you have a good story and, you can show that you're genuine, people are a lot more likely to donate and when you can share that. And so you can kind of outline, this is how much lawn signs are. This is how much it costs us to travel across the riding, because the ridings are huge. And this is how much the office is and all of the expenses that go into it. So yeah, we need a ton of volunteers, need to plan a ton of events, the debates. Often the people who are planning debates, the different organizations aren't really talking to each other. So you may have 2 debates on the same day because they don't know that they're both hosting debates on the same day. So you may be rushing from debate to debate and, hoping that people show up and want to listen to you. And often the people that show up to debates have already made up their mind, right? So like you have to kind of share your story and hope that you can get some really good snippets out of it to post on social media. It's a good place to engage with the other candidates. You can get to know them. With the second election in 2020, it was really tough because it was COVID. And we weren't really able to travel safely, right? We did a little bit of it. We weren't able to have debates. We had one debate and we had to sit 6 feet apart from each other. So I couldn't even, touch hands or was close enough to say hello to the person beside me. So we didn't get to build that camaraderie that we did in 2019 with all of the candidates, because in 2019 we had like 15 debates we went to. And 2020 was a snap election. So it was only 1 month long. So we only had time for one debate and didn't really get to meet each other and have those conversations. So did some door knocking, but of course people are really hesitant during COVID to open the door when they don't know who's knocking. So it made reaching the public really, really difficult, and we saw that in the voter turnout. It can be really, really tricky. You have to have a really big team, and I was very grateful to have so many people supporting me and helping me, because you can't do it alone. It takes a village.
So tell us a little bit more about the experience you had with other candidates. Were there some that stood out to you as just really kind and genuine, and maybe you developed more of a respect for?
Pretty much all of the candidates I had a really good relationship with. Everyone was pretty kind, and, sometimes we would disagree on things and it would kind of rise tensions, and, we would go back and forth. But, at the end of the day, we all respect each other and everyone was pretty nice. It wasn't like the debates that you see on TV in, Ottawa with the party leaders yelling over each other or anything like that. All of ours were pretty much like, they weren't debates where we would each get to like rebut each other. It was more like a forum. So we would each get a minute to talk, but we wouldn't get time to rebut. So it wasn't really a debate. It was more like, time where all of us could just share our differing opinions. And, when the stage is really full, it can be really hard to keep track of what everyone is saying and what all the little slight differences are. Because when you think about it, all of us have a lot more in common than we have different from each other. So it's really important to remember that when you're running against someone as an opponent, and remember kind of what you have in common with them. But I had a great time with everyone. I sat down with, the winning candidates after the election and have a good relationship with them, and have them on speed dial if something comes up. Todd Doherty and Shirley Bond have been really, really supportive with my family, with everything that we're going through right now, and it's been really, really nice. So building those relationships, even though we disagree on a lot of stuff, is really important, because I think that that's how we're gonna create change, is meet in the middle. It can't always be black and white, even though we really want it to. Sometimes you have to bend a little bit on some of the things to kind of move in the right direction. There's that saying that you can get on the, I forget what the saying is, but you can get on the bus and it may not take you to your final destination, but it's in the right direction.
Yeah, and at least it's moving forward.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, in the world of political divisiveness, which perhaps is greater now than it has ever been, or been in a very long time for sure, I think that it's really tough because most people disagree on more than they agree on, or that's the way they feel.
Yeah.
But if you actually look at the political platforms, it doesn't matter if it's a conservative platform, a liberal platform, an NDP platform, a Green platform, there is about 90% that we agree on. Mm-hmm. And there's only really 10%, but that's the 10% that we focus on most of the time. And in some cases for good reason, and in other cases not for very good reason. Mm-hmm. So when these processes are being built and the platforms are being built, What is the behind the scenes work that is done from the party standpoint that creates these things that are ultimately used to impact millions of people in Canada?
Yeah, I mean, I can only speak for the Green Party because I know that kind of structure of how they build their platforms and their policy. And as I was mentioning, it's from the ground up, right? So it's all the membership at a conference votes on the things that they want to bring into the policy book. It's a super big book. And then they kind of pick the top things that they want to put in the platform for that year. So we may not be including everything that's in the policy book. In the platform for a certain campaign year because it just won't have the biggest impact, or it won't appeal to the most amount of people because it's a very niche topic. So you have to think about a lot of things when you're making a platform. What will appeal to people, what is the most important, and what will move us in the right direction. So there's a lot of things. Some things that will move us in the right direction won't be very popular, and so that's what I really like about the Green Party is they put those things in there even if they know that it won't be popular. Those are the things that we need to do, and they're really open to out of the box thinking, and that's kind of what drew me to them is having that ground up, hearing from everyone.
It's very interesting. And for all those listening, if you haven't been involved in a political campaign before, but you support someone, having the opportunity to actually interact with them early on and see what happens, I think will give you a new appreciation for the process. And likely that will get you more involved in the long run. So very, very important. Now, you took that work that you were doing on the political sphere and you decided that communications was important to you. Mm-hmm. And you are now a communications expert where you're teaching and helping other businesses successfully communicate things about their product and their vision to consumers. Tell us about that journey and how that evolved for you.
Sure. So after the 2020 election, I was very tired because it takes a lot out of you to run in a campaign. I have needed like the same amount of time to rest and rehab that the campaign was. So if it was a 5-month campaign, I'm pretty much, do not contact me for 5 months after the campaign because I'm just beat. It takes a lot out of you and, all your privacy is gone and all of that kind of stuff. So you're kind of rebuilding and spending time on yourself, and that self-care is really important during campaigns, which is something that I haven't touched on, but is very, very important. And whenever people reach out to me about their interest in running for office, that's what I focus on the most because you can't pour from an empty cup, right? So, so I kind of took the change to communications in 2021. There was another election. Of course, as we know, there was a federal election, and I was asked to run again in Prince George. But I had just recovered from the 2020 election, and it was in the fall, and I said, you know what? I don't want to burn out. I'm in this for the long run. I'm really interested in politics and democracy and creating change, but I know that if I run in the 2021 election, I will burn out, and I will be no good use to anyone for a while. So I'm going to take a break, and I'm going to try to actually be involved in a campaign behind the scenes instead of being the candidate on every brochure, and I'm going to help with messaging. And I decided to, reach out to some campaigns, and a campaign in Victoria, BC reached out to me and they said, hey, we have a young candidate. You've been a young candidate. We would love your help and we'll hire you. And so this was the first time that I got paid on a campaign because no one makes money when they run for office until they're elected. So I've been, saving my money for all of these campaigns that I have to run in. And so I said yes to, making some money and working on a campaign that I really believed in, and getting to spend 6 weeks in Victoria was really exciting for me. So I moved down there for 6 weeks and had a billet and, followed the candidate around. I was a candidate aide or candidate assistant and social media manager for the campaign in Victoria. And I had a blast. It was amazing. It was a really big campaign, so I could kind of take everything I learned and bring it back home, for all of the future campaigns that I'll be working on or running myself. And so it was a really good opportunity. And then when I came back, I had been working like contract jobs because I just graduated in the spring. So I decided, well, you know what? I really like doing social media, and I wonder if I could do this full time. I'm already doing it, volunteering to do social media for a bunch of organizations I'm a part of. I wonder if I should just commit because I'm really interested in doing this. I really love TikTok and teaching people about TikTok and how they can, use messaging and social media to get their message across to way more people. So I decided to create a business and do it full time. And I had a couple clients here and there in the fall, and then I officially launched doing it full time in January, and I've had great success. So many people have supported me. It's been amazing. So many people need help. There was no competition with the other social media managers in town. They were happy that I had started my business because we're all maxed out because there's so many businesses and so few of us that everyone needs help with their social media. So I've had a really great time doing it, and I'm really excited to be doing it full time because I actually love waking up and doing it. I know a lot of people don't like social media, but I really like using it for good and spreading messages in really fun, exciting, out of the box ways. And so I've been having great success with that and have a ton of clients, and it's been so much fun. So
you've intentionally chosen to be very broad in terms of the services you offer, as well as in your expertise. It's not just about one platform. Social media is a very large term, and it means a lot of things. What does it mean to you?
Really, social media, I think all of us have been, we've had interesting experiences with social media. Some of us, see crazy posts on Facebook, and some of us, spend hours on TikTok every day because it's really entertaining and it kind of helps us decompress after a long day at work because the videos are so quick. Social media can have a really negative impact on us. It can shorten our attention spans, which we see happening all the time. It can educate us. It can be really great and connect us with people around the world. And so I'm really trying to lean into that positive space that it can be, make sure that it is a healthy space, teach business owners and creators or entrepreneurs that want to do social media for their business how to have a healthy screen life balance, because that can be really, really tough when a lot of people are like, I need to have all my notifications on. I need to be checking everything. I might miss a message. So teaching people how they can manage that in a healthy way that doesn't overtake their entire lives, and in a way that's easy to manage and not stressful and, really meaningful with the people that they're connecting with online. And I've had a great opportunity to kind of do it myself and figure out how it's worked for me. And now I want to share that with others. So that's kind of the story of, social media and the impact that it can have, and why I've decided to be really broad, because lots of people decide to, try TikTok, or they want to just stick to Facebook and Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn. As you're having great success with LinkedIn, I've been seeing all of your posts and, just trying to find our niche and trying to find a spot where it feels comfortable, it's easy, it's not too stressful. Where can I really reach my audience and speak in a way that is authentic to me, if you're the business owner. So that's kind of what I'm helping business owners find and creators online is, how can I create a space that I can really connect with, my desired audience, my, ideal client or customer, if they're selling something or have a message to share. So I kept my business name, Mackenzie Kerr Consulting, really broad, not, TikTok coach or anything very specific, because I really want to, keep it broad. And businesses adapt over time, so I didn't want to constrain myself to just one platform in my business name, because then people, of course, associate you with just that one thing. And so I wanted to make sure that my business name was just consulting, because a lot of what I'm doing is coaching and consulting. And then the other side of it is management. And I will post for the businesses, and I do the, engagement and all of the scheduling and content creation. But I love consulting and coaching even more, because it's that high level strategy stuff, figuring out ways for them to communicate in a really, really easy to understand way for their audience. So I kept it broad, and I focus mainly on organic, do a little bit of paid ads, but I really enjoy organic, because as we know, your paid ads aren't going to do very well if you don't have success organically, right? People need to trust you. You need to build up a following and be consistent with your posting. And then when you do ads, they'll have way more success, because people are used to seeing you. They trust you. They don't feel like it's salesy, because they really want to support your business. So I really lean into that organic side and help business owners have success with that. And a lot of people are having, hell of a time with Instagram and Facebook right now, because there's a weird dip, people aren't getting any likes, they're posting and it's sitting at 0 for hours. What's going on? So I really help them kind of dive in and find the problem areas and try different techniques, try different content types. Maybe let's shoot a short video instead of making a static post. That might reach a little bit more people. Let's try a reel this time. Let's put your face in the video. People really want to see that behind the scenes of your business, not just here's my product on every post, right? They want to see the behind the scenes. So really teaching business owners how they can put that into, one neat little strategy package, and then they can kind of follow it and follow the schedule, and it's not super overwhelming, and I really enjoy doing it.
Mm-hmm. So you're the teacher. You can help create content, but ultimately you're trying to help people create it for themselves as well.
Yeah.
Organic is such an interesting niche in particular because as Facebook and Instagram have grown, there's a lot of animosity towards those platforms for some good reasons, partly because of what the corporations have done themselves, partly because previously there was a level of benefit that businesses got through organic posts, that they were able to be seen by a vast or a large group or audience that now maybe they're struggling with. And in particular, some of the platforms are seeing significant organic growth still. What are you seeing, and where are you directing your clients to focus their time and attention?
So a lot of them begrudgingly don't want to do it, but videos, so TikTok, Reels on Instagram, Reels on Facebook now, YouTube if they have the time for it, but really video footage is where we're headed. And so if you can, practice being comfortable in front of the camera, sharing about your business, or your mission, your vision, right? Even if you're not selling something, but you have a message to share, that's really going to get you those organic eyes on your posts now. If you're posting static posts and they're not super engaging, you're struggling with millions and millions of posts being posted at the same time. So, there's not one silver bullet. There's not one thing how you create your video and then it's going to succeed. It's kind of, up to the Instagram and Facebook gods, the TikTok gods, really. But there is things that you can do to get it in the right direction and hope that it will reach, certain amounts of people, and make sure that you're really targeting who you're speaking to. Call them out and say, hey, is this you? Say something very specific that reaches out to them, and then you'll catch the right audience. And, with AI, like, it can pick up who you're talking to and it will send it to those people. So the more specific you are, the better it will be to reach that specific audience. So yeah, I'm really encouraging everyone to focus on video a lot more. Organic video over reposting other people's videos is what Adam from the head of Instagram has been talking about. Like, organic content that you create yourself is really going to do the best. So when I create content for clients and go in and film for them, I do a little bit of that, although I'm not a professional videographer. But you don't have to be right now, right? On TikTok and Instagram, people want to see that you're, authentic, and it doesn't have to be perfect. They just want to see your face. They want to see you interested in your business. And I've been having great success with the clients that I have when they've been showing up authentically and sharing their story and showing that passion. And people can see it in video, right? It's a lot easier to show that than in a post when you're just writing a caption.
So I've noticed as well that in particular on TikTok and Instagram Reels, organic content that seems almost amateurish appears to do better than a lot of the other types of content. Now, whether it's on personal account or on a business account, why do you think this is happening?
People want to connect and know that you're like them, right? And so if you're shooting video content that isn't on a professional camera but is on an iPhone, and people can tell that you're, holding it yourself, and it's not on a tripod or anything, you're kind of holding it up in selfie mode, people feel like they can see themselves in you, and then they will connect to you better. So that's kind of the trends that we're seeing right now on social media, is the more personal it can be, the more amateur looking. It doesn't have to be super shaky or fuzzy photos. You want to make it good quality. Sound quality is really important. Make sure that there's not a bunch of loud noises happening around you. Even people have plugged in their headphones and speak into the headphone microphone, because then it's really clear audio. Make sure that there's captions on the video, because most people actually listen to videos without sound on. So they'll read the captions at the same time. So captions are super important, not just for accessibility, but also for 80% of people that listen to Facebook videos without sound on. So you're really restricting your audience if you don't include all of these pieces. So it may take a little bit extra time, but it's really worth it.
So how have you applied this to your personal brand, and what are you doing on your side to create a name for yourself and for, of course, your business?
Well, I'm focusing on creating content that's really authentic to me, meaningful. I have a hard time posting every single day because I'm so busy with my clients. And so I really focus on quality, not quantity. And so and that's what I encourage others to do as well. If you can't pump out 3 TikTok videos a day without them being good quality, don't worry about it. Post 1 a day if you can, a couple a week, that's fine. If you only have time, to make 1 every month, at least have a profile so that if people are searching for your business on a certain platform, they can find it. Even if you don't have a ton of content, I still encourage people to claim the username because someone else could take it, right? And have your website linked if you can. Of course, on TikTok, you have to have 1,000 followers. So, if you have time to focus on that first 1,000, then just kind of leave it and post whenever you can once you get to that. Because, mental health and finding that balance is the most important part. Making sure that you don't burn out and you make a bunch of videos and then you don't have time or energy to, post a bunch, spread them out, and then you'll be set.
Mm-hmm. So when you got into this, you had to create a bit of a name for yourself. You had already been doing that in other arenas. For the people listening who maybe want to follow in your footsteps and start their own consulting firm, maybe they have their own social media accounts, what are the steps that you would recommend they take to get to their first clients?
Well, I would say that, name recognition and brand recognition is really important. And so the more, people you can speak to, not just on social media, but in networking, try to connect with as many people as you can. One of the really easy ways to do that is when you go to companies, when you go to get a coffee downtown, tag the company on Instagram, and then ever so often they'll reshare your Instagram stories and they'll see you, and people will start to see your name attached to the photos that you're taking. And if you have a certain kind of, style of photo that you take, people start to recognize it without even reading your name. And so if you can kind of create branding, style or color or something that is unique to you, that when people see it, they instantly think of you, that can be really important for building your brand. And so, there's certain things that I've done to make sure that, lots of face photos, lots of people recognizing my face and my name. And then, of course, I called my business my name because I was building it off of my name recognition, right? And so, if I had named it something else, I might not have had the success that I had right off the bat, just because, I have been in the city for a long time and, built up my brand and my name recognition and done tons of volunteering, and people know me for my name. So that's kind of why I started my business that way. Of course, if you decide to name it something else, that totally makes sense as well. But for me, that's what made sense. I started business accounts for my social media business once I decided to launch my business. So I kind of was doing a little bit, I hadn't really created my own accounts last summer when I started doing social media management. I just had my own accounts that I talk about politics and life and Prince George and stuff. And I hadn't made double accounts because it's double the work when you make more accounts. But then when I officially decided to do this full time, that's when I made my own accounts, separated it so that people could follow just for my business. I can post about social media tips, how to make reels, tutorials, when I have workshops going on, when I, have availability for more clients, that kind of thing, because I didn't want to clog up my, personal one where it's completely different topics. And so that's kind of when I decided to create my own. And so I would recommend that for other people as well. If they're interested in, starting their own business, reach out to me anytime, because I would love to share with you the process that I went through. I did a bunch of business courses that were available to me through some consulting firms. And then with Hubspace downtown in Prince George, they're supporting me for some other business growth sales programs right now as well. So the more that you can reach out to those economic development organizations like Hubspace, Community Futures, look for grants, that kind of stuff, the better you can be, because it takes some money to start a business. And as you were saying, you have to have more coming into the bank than you do going out. So being really careful to track your expenses and be mindful of where you're spending your money. A lot of people will buy everything at once when they start their business, but there's a lot of free versions of everything, and you can start your business with all the free versions first, right? Especially for social media. There's schedulers, there's Canva, all the things where you need to make the graphics, video editing. There's free versions of all of that. Save your money when you start, build up your brand recognition, and then once you're making money, then you can invest in, the paid versions of that kind of stuff. And then you can have more money coming in than it's going out, and try to keep your expenses as low as possible.
So in one word, I think you are considered fearless because you've gotten your name out there through a variety of means, and that can be very difficult for somebody starting a business. Mm-hmm. Would you recommend that they start moving in the direction of getting the name recognition before they start the business? Or would they start trying to gain clients first and then have more to talk about?
It really depends on you and how much time you have to do your own marketing. If you have people that are interested in hiring you before you even have your own pages made, go for it. Perfect. You're set, right? And then if you want more clients after that, then you can kind of slowly start it. For myself, not a ton of people knew that I was doing this. And so I wanted to start up my social media pages talking about my new business and really announce it and kind of make a big thing about it, because then more people would know. And that worked well for me. But, you could do the opposite and you would have great success too. So it really depends on how comfortable you are making your own posts. A lot of people, aren't that comfortable making posts about their own business, and they get success without it. So that's totally fine. Really, it comes down to networks. And if you know the right people, and if you know lots of people and you're really engaged in the community and trying to be involved, you're going to come across people and you can mention it in person. So you don't totally have to rely on social media. Word of mouth online or in person is really what's going to get you more clients and success with your business, whatever kind of business you have. So,
yeah. And there's also a mental health component to social media. Would you like to touch on some of the things you've experienced over time and challenges that you've overcome, as well as how others could maybe address that?
Yeah, sure. I always tell clients and others when I'm talking about social media, listen to your body and take a break when you need to. TikTok is not going anywhere. Social media is not going anywhere. If you don't have time to post this week because, your house is falling apart, catastrophe, kids are sick, everyone's sick, don't worry about it, because, filler posts that don't seem authentic, that aren't really helpful and valuable and full of education aren't going to do well anyways, right? It's people want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. So if you actually make a post and say, hey, I need to take a break from social media, which is ironic and hilarious, but I would encourage it, because then people aren't like, where'd you go? Make a post on your story and say, hey, I need a break. I see lots of business owners do that as well, that are my friends, that I commend them for it. It's amazing when they do that, because if they can just let people know that they need a break and, contact me via email or text instead, I don't want to turn to my, social media this week, that will be the best bet. But listen to your body and take breaks when you need to. It's not going anywhere. I made a ton of TikToks at the beginning of my business in February and March, and now I'm so busy with clients, I literally haven't made a TikTok in like 3 weeks. And, followers still grow, views still grow, the algorithm keeps showing your videos to people, even if you're not creating content. In old videos, if they didn't do well when you first posted them, don't delete them, because the algorithms, show it to people after the fact. It's like a delayed reaction kind of thing. So make sure that you're leaving all your videos up, and giving them time. Don't stress about it. Don't look at your followers. Don't look at, don't stress over the numbers. Just create content that you enjoy creating, and, the results will follow.
Mm-hmm. And so when you have that moment that you're kind of overwhelmed with social media, because we're in such a world where it surrounds everything we do, I've always felt like the most important thing is, again, to think about your own mental health first. Are there some tips or tricks that you've used besides putting it down to kind of relax or wind down at the end of the day and stop looking at the likes and shares?
Turn off your notifications. Other than messages, maybe you can leave your comments on, but other than messages on Instagram, you can specifically say, I only want to see notifications for messages, turn everything else off, so that every time someone likes your post, you're not looking at your phone because it's not popping up. That is the biggest tip that I would give to people who are active on social media, business owners or not, is keep the notifications off. Check it, have times when you check it throughout the day. That may be 2 or 3 times a day, or that may be just once a day. If you're running a business, usually it's a couple times a day, morning and night kind of thing. Answer the comments right after you post, make sure that you're engaging in the comments and then put it down and go back to your business. So that's what I would definitely encourage, is make sure that you're prioritizing your mental health. And I would also say that, batching content, if you can, film a couple videos at one time. Write down all the list of ideas when you have a spark of big ideas or an epiphany moment where you're like, oh, I should make that into a post. Put it in your notes section, write down all the details that you're thinking of. And then when you have time to post later, it may be late at night when you can draft up the post, then you can kind of go back to your ideas and you're not starting from scratch. Sorting all your photos in an album, like in albums on your phone, so that you know where all of them are. You don't have to scroll through every single photo you've ever taken to find a photo that will match what you're talking about, because you've kind of been grouping your photos according to your business. That can really speed things up, and really speeding things up is what can better your mental health when it comes to social media. The less time you can spend, dwelling over what to say. If you already have a list of content pillars and a strategy of what you want to post, then you can kind of come up with things a lot easier and it doesn't take as much time.
Society has demonized social media in interesting ways, and it's not actually that much different than when I grew up. When I grew up, Nintendo games were demonized, and I remember many times my mom saying, get the heck out of the house, go play outside, you need to be a normal person. The fact is that society changes, and now in a lot of ways sitting inside and playing video games has become normalized. Do you think social media is heading in that direction, or do you think society is going to take a step back and try and limit the amount of influence that it has going in the future?
Well, you were mentioning how the big corporations, how impactful they are in our lives and how they've been shaping these social media platforms. I mean, TikTok itself, it keeps your attention span super short. So you always want to keep going back and watching more videos. There's some movement to, slow down your scroll and really read, more like longer captions and keep your attention a little bit longer. But I think it is moving in a direction where we're really, social media is ruling our lives, and if we can move away from that as much as possible, and I can teach business owners how to move away from that, where they're posting authentic content whenever they can, when they have a consistent schedule, a couple times a week, and then they're busy spending time outside, spending time with their families. That's really what I try to make sure that business owners and creators who are interested in using social media can really focus on, because it can be all encompassing, especially if you have your notifications on. TikToks can blow up overnight and you can have thousands of comments and millions of views, and, it can really be all encompassing. And so if you can really make sure that, you are detaching yourself a little bit, not letting it rule your life. There can be a lot of hate comments and that kind of thing. Like, you have to know how to manage them. So, and take care of your mental health first. So don't hesitate to block people. Lots of people are like, oh, I don't know if it'll look good if I block them. Don't let that energy into your space, right? You're creating your own page how you want it to be. This is your space. It's not up to other people to be able to put whatever they want on your page. So don't hesitate to block, and you can explain to people why you've decided to do that if it comes up. But I tell people not to hesitate to do that, because their mental health comes first. You can also manage comments on TikTok and say, I don't want any comments coming up that have these words in them, and then they just won't come up, right? So you can kind of manage things like that a little bit to decrease the amount of hate comments that you need to manage if you have a very controversial topic you're talking about or something like that. But there's ways that you can manage it. So yeah, it's really, really important to spend as much time as you can away from your phone. And that's, with it being my job all the time now, I have a strict schedule where, this is posting time, this is content creation time, and then the rest of the time, I'm sending emails and catching up and networking with people and trying to build my business, making sure my accounting's in order and all of that kind of stuff, and then spending as much time I can outside like I did when I grew up.
When you are getting those comments, positive and negative, it's been my experience that it's really important to compartmentalize and not take the positive comments too well and not take the negative comments too harshly, because the truth is that most of our happiness comes internally. And it is very difficult that when you get that viral moment and you try and recreate that success, it creates a dopamine level, which is very addictive. The other thing that was interesting I learned about a while ago was that when some of these platforms started, they were really meant or designed to be about sharing your friends' information. And so you would scroll and scroll and scroll, and eventually you'd hit a bottom. And that was a great opportunity. So people would spend 10 minutes, 20 minutes, they'd get to the bottom of the scroll, it would stop, and it would be a very logical place for you to actually stop. Whereas platforms like TikTok today, there's a never-ending stream of content that you will never get to the bottom of, and that encourages you to stay on for a much longer period of time. So I always encourage my friends to take an opportunity to stop at some point, or give themselves a timer that at this point you have to stop, because otherwise 3 hours later you're 15 cat videos deep. It can very much become something that is hard to get out of.
Yeah, definitely. And there is timer functions on iPhone specifically, because that's what I use. You can set screen time limits for each app. So I have screen time limits on my phone of, 5 hours, 6 hours for social media platforms all combined, including TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, so that if I accidentally hit that, it's going to turn off my app and it's going to say, okay, do you want 15 more minutes or do you want to close it? And so then it just kind of stops me from getting out of that. I mean, it feels like a trance, really, when you're just continually scrolling and you can't get out of it. And I have felt that myself a lot. So, it's that up and down. One time you see, really sad videos, and then you see a happy video, and then you see a controversial one, and one makes you laugh, and your emotions are just all over the place. And I really don't think that our brains are built to, take in that much information in one time, because we're just not built for that. So I think that if we can create a healthy screen life balance where we're not just sucked into it all the time, we set limits on our phone with the apps that with the controls in our settings, that can really help our mental health. And making sure that, that up and down feeling, we can try and, remain neutral with it. When you have positive and negative comments, you can really just see them neutrally and, don't let one impact you more than the other. Respond in a calm way. Take 5 minutes. If one really makes you angry, take 5 minutes and think of what you want to say. Maybe come back to it the next day. It's not going to go anywhere. And take some time and really be meaningful with how you're operating and living your life on social media. And a lot of people, are not themselves, right? They'll put on kind of a fake facade. It's really easy to pretend that you're someone else on social media, and that's okay. But make sure that you're, you have like a healthy balance, and you're not, don't have expectations that, this facade is posting 5 times a day, but your real life can't really keep up with it. Make sure that you find a healthy balance.
Great. So you're very active in the community as well. And is there any other groups or organizations that you like to spend your time with that you're trying to help grow as well, not just on the business side, but on your personal side?
Yeah, definitely. I, as I said before, professional pack mom. So I'm on like a ton of different boards and organizations. Most recently coming up is the Walk for Alzheimer's on May 29th. May 29th is a busy day. That's also the Climb for Cancer and the Hospice Color Walk. So hopefully everyone can find time to go to all of them. But I've been helping run the Walk for Alzheimer's for a couple of years now, because it's near and dear to my heart. And so we're hoping for great success Success at the end of the month on May 29th. And then I'm also part of Queer Cafe, Pride organization, a queer organization in town to help bring more community to the queer community, since I am queer myself, and have more events. We have a big picnic coming up in July at Rainbow Park that I'm helping organize. So lots of different organizations. And then of course the BC Greens, there's a local group, a riding association, and we grow food in the community garden all summer. And so there's tons of organizations and things going on that I'm part of. And it takes a lot of my time, but I really love doing it. And that's how we build community. I think we need more of that, more people to join clubs and join groups and organizations to, make more friends, get outside, get off their phones, and build that community, because that's really how we can, create positive spaces that are fun to live in. And Prince George has a lot of them. So there's no shortage of groups and organizations to be a part of. Find a topic that you're interested in and reach out to them on social media. And if they have an active page, they'll probably tell you when their next meeting is, and then you can show up and meet some new people. But lots of things on the go. It's been really, really exciting. And I try to, promote them as much as I can on my personal platforms, talk about them, and use the amazing audience that I've created on social media on all my platforms to talk about all these amazing causes and really, create a space that's positive and use it for good, because that's what social media should be used for.
Well, you certainly are a great example of that. You're a great community advocate, and it's been fantastic having you on today. Is there any social media platforms that people can find you on if they want to follow you further?
Yes, all of them. M. Kerr Consulting on all of social media platforms. On Instagram, it's Mackenzie Kerr Consulting. It let me keep my entire name. So if you want to reach out to me on any of those platforms, if you type in Mackenzie Kerr, it should pop up, and you know how to reach me. I will answer you at the end of the day when I check my messages. And I look forward to talking to you. But if you have any questions ever about social media management, politics, how to get involved in the community, that's what I like spending my time sharing with other people, so that more people can get involved. So thanks for having me on and letting me chit chat about all of this good stuff and share some of my insights on social media.
Well, we'll be following you a lot more going forward. Thank you so much, Mackenzie. This has been great. This is You Sip by Sip. This is another episode, and I can't wait to see you next week. For now, cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to You Sip, I Sip. Please hit the 5-star rating and leave us a review. If you'd like to learn more about Northern Lights Winery, text us at 604-670-4046 or visit us on social media at Northern Lights Winery.